Believe it or not, it's possible to become a grandmaster at Tai Chi in as little as 18 months. Now, the methods behind doing this are not well understood, but essentially there are 5 things that you're going to have to learn how to do. 1, you're going to have to develop your clairsentience. 2, you're going to have to learn to develop the ball above head method. 3, you're going to have to develop your fascia, and the most rapid way to do this is via rebounding. 4, you're going to need to run all of the different Tai Chi energies using the ball above head method through your body for at least 100 hours each. And 5, you're going to need to learn a power generation system. All right, what is clairsentience, since this is the first thing you're going to need to learn how to do? This is your subtle sense of touch. By developing your clairsentience, you can then take these various Tai Chi energies and clearly identify them. See, only once you can clearly identify the Tai Chi energies can you actually train them. And depending upon whose system you're talking about and who you ask, well, there are anywhere between 8 and 20 of these. Okay. 2, we talk about the ball above head method. The ball above head method is a somewhat universal method in magic and high-level yogic practice. If you've seen pictures of, say, Tibetan Buddhist iconography, where you see the Buddha figure or the various deity, and he's got this ball of energy above his head, that's ball above head. You can also see this in a lot of ancient Egyptian drawings and sculpture. In fact, you can even see it in some Christian works if you know where to look. By using ball above head, you can transfer energies through the body. And this allows you to train them, assuming you've learned how to identify them clearly, utilizing something like building the ball, so you have clairsentience in the first place. So all right, the first 2 stages of this are developing the ability to sense and work with these subtle energies. 2, learning how to run them through your body so it goes through your tissues. This gets to our 3rd part, where you'll need to develop your fascia tissue. Now, the fastest way to do this that I have seen anywhere is through rebounding. This is where people in a collaborative manner, this is not competitive, bounce off of each other in a slow, controlled manner. You've often seen this in various Tai Chi drills where someone will walk up, put their weight onto somebody's arms or shoulders, and then bounce off of them. Okay, this will develop your fascia. So now that you can develop all of this soft tissue in the body, this allows you to, for lack of a better word, transmit, or more appropriately, conduct a large amount of subtle energy very quickly. This, in turn, opens the door to learning all of the different Tai Chi energies. And this is where you can make a lot of really rapid progress. And we'll get to that in a minute. But again, the order of things that you need to do here is develop your clairsentience through an exercise like build the ball. Learn how to run energies through your various physical and subtle bodies utilizing ball above head. 3, have a really good fascia development technology like rebounding. This allows you to increase the amount of these subtle forces that you run through your body to the point where, for athletic purposes, which is what we're doing here, they become useful. Now, you will end up tuning this using your long form, and we'll get to that a little later on. Okay, so the next thing you need to learn how to do is you need to find a list of all of the different Tai Chi energies. A gentleman by the name of Stuart Olson wrote a book on these where he detailed about 20 of them a few decades ago. I believe he's deceased now. I could be wrong. But there are other sources. But here's the important part about this, okay? You need to have the original characters in traditional Chinese characters. This is very important because these traditional characters, when utilized with the ball above head method, end up becoming magical sigils. The same process works with Hebrew characters, with Sanskrit letters, with even the Roman alphabet, if you understand Barden's form of Kabbalah using three-point concentration of color, sound, and sensation. But this is really important because when you take those traditional characters, all right, and you place them, you visualize them clearly above your head, the Akashic or esoteric nature of those letters and characters will begin to develop. This in turn runs the energy, the specific Tai Chi energy, whether you're talking Peng Jin or Ling Kong Jin or whatever form you're dealing with, or the penetrating or twisting forms, it doesn't matter. That then runs through your body. Now, because you've developed your clairsentience, you can tell the difference between the different energies. Because you're using ball above head, you can run this cleanly through you. Okay, so it affects all of your different subtle bodies the way it's supposed to. Because you've developed your fascia, that movement of energy through the body is quite strong and quite potent, which is also important because when it's very soft and very subtle, it's hard to determine what you're doing. And finally, because you're placing the letters above your head, you're invoking their Akashic and egregoric nature, which means it's going to program that energy and it's going to move through you really effectively. Now, the reason why this is so effective is if you don't have these skills, the only other way to learn these 20 or so different energies is to push hands with people for years. Typically, after 3 years, maybe as many as 10 in some cases, someone will finally develop a base level of clairsentience and maybe begin to identify the different natures of these energies. But by using the 4-part process you just learned, you can do this very, very, very quickly. Now, you're going to want to practice this way using rebounding, your long form, push hands, you name it, with other Tai Chi practitioners for at least 100 hours per energy. So depending upon which energy you're working with, which system you're working with, this could be as little as 800 hours worth of work or as much as 2,000. But the point is if you did this full time, you could easily do it in a year and a half, maybe even less, depending upon how much work you want to give it. Now this leads to our 5th point. You also have to learn a power generation system. Okay, in a lot of these systems, they'll use a kind of passive reception of force, where you receive the force, it pushes down on your soft tissue, and that rebounds off of you. That's really bad for your spine. I mean, really, really bad for the discs in your back. Everybody I've known who's utilized this over a very long period of time developed back problems, specifically in their lower back. So you're going to have to put up with a little bit of this pressure on your spine when you're learning rebounding to build your fascia. But over a long period of time, you do not want to continue doing this. It's really bad for you. So you need to find a power generation system. Now, there are 3 or 4 of these out there. The ball system, where you learn to move your abdomen in circles and patterns and combine that with your striking, works pretty well. It's a little on the slow side, but it does in fact work. Other people prefer pranayama. Some people prefer things like Shi Shui Gung. They're the systems from Xing Yi where you learn to manipulate all the muscles in the spine and create this kind of spine wave. or the twisting exercises where you twist the fascia into a coil and release it very quickly in things like Bagua Zhang. But you're going to need those. Now, if you do all of that, what we've just described, you will unlock all of the Tai Chi powers relatively quickly, easily within a year and a half. Now, what is this not going to do for you? Okay, it's not going to make you a good fighter. It's not going to make you a professional push hands guy either. All of those things take additional work, and you can't really cheat code that. That's stuff where you're going to have to do your conditioning and your road work and your weightlifting and your grappling and all that other kind of business. So be clear about what this allows you to do. But in terms of those esoteric abilities associated with Tai Chi, this 5-part system, really you just need the first 4. That's going to allow you to do all of this very, very, very quickly and not waste a decade or more of your life messing around with suboptimal training patterns. So, as per usual, if you train like a magician trains, you have the ultimate cheat code. But you still have to train. So in this case, if it makes the difference between having to invest 2,000 hours to learn how to do something and 10,000, well, that probably just saved you several years. So if you like the topic of today's discussion, come to 60skills.com and see everything that we have to offer. And if you're interested in some of the coursework, go to Perseus Arcane Academy. And we'd really appreciate a like, and of course, would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, as per usual, train hard and be well.